Okay, so we are live. Um, Hold on. I have to go get my hat, but I'll be right back. I know this has been all over the place, but I'll be right back. Okay, Angel?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so welcome back, guys, to the Boxers podcast. I guess this is more of a visual podcast now because we're live streaming it. I'm here with Angel. Angel, how are you doing?
Hello. I was doing good until I checked Instagram, then my night got ruined. Thanks for a list.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So, oh, sorry. We have two people watch. Oh, we have one. We had two people watching. Now we just have one. But we're gonna get into the podcast. So, Angel, do you have a place that you want to start? Do you want to talk about the Ryan Garcia stuff first, or do you want to what do you want to do?
I want to talk about the decision. Me and Nappy kind of went into a little bit of this. We both agreed though, which was surprising. That doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
But we were both saying how Gervonta Davis is so Gervonta Davis had this recent incident where he got involved in a hit and run. And
yeah, I heard about it.
The ignorance of some people were like, "Oh, he went to jail just to avoid Ryan Garcia." No.
Yeah.
And that was kind of ironic coming from Ryan Garcia fans because Ryan Garcia recently ducked Devin Haney, who was his mandatory, by the way. So I don't know why he ducked the mandatory. Yeah. But oh well, he went to go then do a cult fight with Manny Pacquiao, which was interesting but random.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just arguably think that Ryan Garcia is a duck. I genuinely believe he's a duck.
So you think he's afraid to fight someone really good?
It's not that David Haney's really good. It's just they fought in the amateurs at least 6 times, right?
Yeah.
So now I don't know if this changes the narrative in such a cool story plot wise, but Ryan Garcia defeated Devin Haney 3 times, while David Haney defeated Ryan Garcia 3 times. Now, as equal as that sounds, the reason why Ryan Garcia is worried is because the recent wins that David Haney got in the amateurs were the latest ones. And Ryan Garcia is scared we think he's scared that's gonna play a factor into professional boxing where David Haney beats Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't want to lose because he is a big hype train. I'll give him that. He's a huge hype train. And he doesn't want to end it so early, so it would make sense why he wouldn't want to fight Devin. But then he started cloud chasing the bigger names like Gervonta Davis, Manny Pacquiao. And yeah, those fights never even came true. Oh, crazy.
And then the realist said the thing on his story.
Ooh, yeah. Apparently, if you're light, you can't hit hard. I don't. Did you agree with that? Do you think Ryan Garcia hits hard? Be honest, it's okay.
I mean, it's Ryan Garcia. The man could knock out Logan Paul, Jake Paul, KSI in the same night.
Honest. Yes, Ryan Garcia looks bad now, especially fighting Fortuna. Dude, Fortuna's so early in his career. Why would you fight Fortuna? I agree with you, Alex. Why would you fight Fortuna, dude? That could have been a future build of hype event. But no, apparently I don't know. I don't know what his mindset is. It's a smart mindset, don't get me wrong, but it's not a respectable one.
Yeah.
But anyways, with the realist thing, he does have knockout power, dude. I'm not saying that he's gonna be a crazy knockout artist, but saying he doesn't hit hard and that he's light as hell, that's a pretty stupid statement considering that his KO percent is 86%.
Yeah.
21 wins, 18 knockouts. But no, apparently to the realist, he's light, so he can't hit hard.
He mystifies me sometimes. He says stuff where I'm like, are you serious? Bro, you can't be serious. And he's serious. I'm like, but he hasn't been making a lot of videos, and he hasn't said anything that's made me super mad, so I don't really care about him. when he's not saying stuff that makes me mad.
Yeah, he's
What do
more
you-
likable when he's not talking.
Yeah. Alex said Fontana is the mandatory, so Ryan wants to be the only mandatory for Devin, but last time he ducked Devin.
Yeah.
So are you gonna watch? So have you been following the Andy Ruiz fight? Like, do you know? Have you like? Who do you think is gonna win?
Andy Reid. I definitely see Andy taking the win. I might be biased, but
I hope
see Andy take.
I hope he does. But I mean, I don't really know who is I haven't been like following that, but I'll go with your opinion. And then we also have Billy Joe Saunders versus Canelo. And do you have any like updated thoughts? Because I know we talked about this about a month ago, but do you still stand by your like prediction?
I'm afraid. I don't know. The thing with Billy is he has really insane adapting skills.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know we say, "Oh, Jake Paul, KSI can adapt." No, we're talking about professional boxing. This man can adapt. Like he can switch southpaw to orthodox, like right to left. Like he can adapt. And Canelo, he doesn't need to adapt because he can't even get hit in the first place. You know what I mean?
So do you think?
But
so you don't know who's gonna win?
No. I'm still gonna say Canelo.
Mm-hmm.
But I see Billy Joe giving him more.
Do you think they'll have a rematch?
That depends on how the rest of the Billy Joe fight goes. I mean, Billy Joe career goes. Like if we're talking like early knockout, there's no point in a rematch. But if we're talking like close draw or scrape the victory, there will be a rematch.
I think Canelo's gonna win, but I feel like I would like it if kind of Billy Joe won because I feel like Canelo would be so motivated that he would floor him if they had a rematch.
I don't think Canelo. I think Canelo's low key at his like. I think he's at his peak right now. Like the man is in his prime.
Yeah.
And ever since the Floyd loss, there's no way he can be more motivated. The man's doing like 2 to 3 fights a year, which is not crazy if you look at old time boxers who used to fight very often. But for someone modern and who's a champion, that's extremely rare. But it just shows that he's really hungry still.
Yeah. I think it's still gonna be Canelo, and then I'm just going by month, I guess. And so in June, we obviously are getting more into the social media stuff. But before we get into that, I want to talk about Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. So we don't know when the fight's gonna be. It's kind of all up in the air right now. Do you have what are your updated thoughts on that fight? Or are they still the same?
I originally thought that it would be a draw first fight, or like someone would win first fight and someone would win. Now I changed my opinion, and I think Tyson Fury is going to beat AJ pretty one-sided for me. I'm rooting for AJ. Don't get me wrong.
I like them both.
But yeah, I'm only rooting for AJ because he defeated Andy Ruiz. So I want Andy Ruiz to lose to the guy who's the unified champion. So the reason I think Anthony Joshua is going to lose is because, as we saw in the original Andy Ruiz fight, Andy has head movement, dog. Like, he can bob and weave. And that was the thing that saved him. Like, he did a dip to the left side and came up with a hook. He has head movement. Tyson Fury arguably has way better head movement than Andy Ruiz. Because Tyson loves moving his head. He even tries doing the rope-a-dope thing like Muhammad Ali, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think Anthony Joshua is going to have a hard time fighting someone who knows how to move.
Mm-hmm.
Like he fought against power hitters like Klitschko and whatnot, but he hasn't fought against anybody who moves like a lightweight.
Yeah, because Tyson moves well for like a big guy.
Yeah, and man's chin is not questioned.
Yeah, I think Tyson's gonna win. I think Tyson's. Yeah, I don't see Tyson Fury ever losing unless he like fights when he's like 60 years old or something, like like Floyd is. But okay, so then there's that. So now we're getting into breaking news, I guess. Logan Paul versus Mayweather is confirmed. Well, it's not confirmed, but when these reports come out, they're pretty much the confirmed date, and it's going to happen on June 5th. And Floyd actually listed a bunch of locations that the fight could happen at. And I think he said that the different locations were Atlanta, where the Jake fight was, Miami, obviously, Los Angeles, Las Vegas. Those were Miami. Yeah, I think I said Miami. So those are the basic kind of places. So Angel, so I know we've talked about this before, but what are your updated thoughts on this whole event?
Um, I I don't know, dude. Like when we talked about this, it was like at its peak of attention, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone was talking about it. Now it's not so much, but it's still Floyd Mayweather. He never needed YouTube or TikTok or Instagram to get his pay-per-view sales.
Yeah.
He's like one of the biggest pay-per-view stars of all time.
Yeah.
So clearly YouTube, and I want to say this mostly about Keemstar, because Keemstar apparently thinks he's like some boxing voodoo star. Drama alert, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, we're not the target audience. So we think it's died down, but I personally think that it's still hyped around, especially in the boxing world, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
as much as hype as it is, as well as Logan Paul's name, I think it's still gonna be the same story no matter how many sales. If nobody pays for it, Floyd is still gonna try to do some showboating in the ring. If everybody pays for it, Floyd's gonna do showboating in the ring. Like the attention is, I don't know where the attention is gonna be. If it's gonna be top 10 or not even top 10.
Mm-hmm.
But my prediction wise stays the same. I still see Floyd beating Logan's ass, but popularity wise, I changed my mind. I don't think it's gonna be such a huge event anymore.
I personally believe that Logan Paul's gonna beat him, and then it'll be Anthony Joshua, and then Tyson Fury, and then he's gonna become heavyweight champion of the world. That's gonna happen.
He's that one guy on Discord.
It's gonna, that's gonna happen. No, yeah, obviously Logan's gonna lose to Floyd. It'd be amazing if he won. I'm rooting for him to win. Obviously, it's unrealistic, but I wonder, will this do better than Ben versus Jake, because the number is 1.5 million pay-per-view buys? Do you think it will do better? It has to, because then that would just be really embarrassing for Floyd. Like, he'd be like, I got
without a doubt, it's gonna do it.
What?
Of course, without a doubt, Floyd's surpassing Jake.
Do you think it'll like top 2 mil?
Nah, I don't know. It's not topping 2 mil. It's only because, okay, the thing with pay-per-view buys is it all depends on the stigma around the fight. You know, like is it too professionals or too social? Back then, this wasn't a factor because obviously celebrity boxing wasn't as big. But if you're having two social media stars fight, it's gonna do big, but it's not doing top 10, because top 10 are filled with Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Floyd Mayweather, Canelo, Manny Pacquiao, Sugar Shane Mosley, Lennox Lewis, boxing Hall of Famers, right? To think those numbers would be rivaled by YouTubers doing this for the first time, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
So props to Jake, because we all thought that event was going to do awful, but we still did awful. But I guess number-wise, people bought it.
I think that the big thing that when we were DMing about this, I think the big thing that we both forgot is, like, I think that because it's COVID and because there was like only 100 people allowed in, that's I think a big factor as to why I think it did so well. It's because like a lot of people couldn't actually go and see it in person, and I feel like if COVID wasn't a thing, I think it'd still top at 1 million, but I don't think it would. I think it would do like 1.1, 1.2. Like, I think that the audience like not being there plays a huge factor into why it did that good, because I didn't think it was good. I didn't think it was even gonna top 1 mil. I was very surprised, but I do think they like really like did a lot of press events, and Jay kind of is very like making it to a big spectacle, and I think it attracted a lot of people to it in the end.
Yeah. Also, not to mention, like, I'm not doubting the numbers. I'm giving Jake his props, but Thriller, it's been a little sketchy for Thriller because I've been obviously following Jake Paul's social media after the fight just to
Yeah.
see what kind of sportsmanship he would show.
Hmm.
And he said, Thriller just did 1.2 million buys, update 1.3, update 1.5. Bro, pay-per-view buys are not like vote counts. You get that automatically as soon as it's done. How is it updating? You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like,
No.
it's so sketchy to me.
I mean, I think it didn't do better than KSI versus Logan Paul 2, and it didn't do worse. It did like weight kind of the same amount, which I guess for Jake is good enough, but it wasn't like obviously he's gonna hype it up to make it seem like it was huge. Um People I heard someone say like on like a podcast like Jake Paul is the biggest like pay-per-view star in boxing right now, and he's like the future of it, and I don't see that being true, and like I hate that anyone even thinks that because I
Mm.
genuinely don't think that that's true.
He's not the future of boxing, and if he's the future of boxing, I'm quitting. But
Yeah.
I do agree with the pay-per-view start buy thing, and he's not the future of boxing, but it has been a while since someone broke the top 10 chart,
Hmm.
and I feel like this is gonna be a one hit. Obviously, it's okay. Side comes. I feel like I might eat my words later on, and I have no problems with that. I feel like this is gonna be a Jake Paul one hit wonder, and he's not going anywhere near the top 10 again. If he does, good for him. I'll eat my words, but I doubt that.
I think that with I think a big reason why this also did better than like the first KSI versus Logan fight is because they were trying to mirror like an actual boxing fight. They were trying to make it seem like it was a real boxing fight, not like a spectacle or a circus. With this fight, they had like the big Jake Paul robot. They had Snoop Dogg. They were smoking weed. Pete Davidson was roasting Jake. They had the D'Amelios. They had goals twerking. Like this was not a boxing event. This was a entertainment circus spectacle extravaganza. And I think that like I think the mainstream, the casuals, they're like interested into like what is that, and a lot of the people hated it, but a lot of people enjoyed it who probably were not like people who don't watch like Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. They'll love this, but people that watch that are like, what is this? Like I thought that it was. I didn't really like it, but like I just think the musical numbers went on way too long. Like one of the numbers was like over like 14 minutes long. But I think that you know what, they're gonna do this again for the next pay-per-view because hey, they got the numbers in, they made what $70 million in revenue. Like they're gonna do it again. But again, my point was that like when you try and take it away from what a traditional boxing event is, I think people are more attracted to it than what they were trying to do, which was mirror it, and they were doing the complete opposite of what a traditional event was.
Yeah, I mean, props to them. It worked. It's not respectable, but it worked.
Yeah, and I understand why people say that like KSI is not the A side anymore because he isn't fighting anymore and he's not doing
Mm-hmm.
anything to like prove that. But I do want to remind people, KSI and Logan Paul both sold out Staples Center, Manchester Arena, both with 21,000 seats, sold them out. KSI sold out Manchester Arena in less than 48 hours. KSI's first fight with Joella wasn't like a you pay money for it, but if it was like, and this would never happen, like it got the stream got like 20 million views. Like that, if that was actual like money that people paid for it, that would make KSI the biggest pay-per-view buy of all time. But obviously no one, it was for free. And then for the first Logan fight and the second fight, 1.2 and like 1.4 or 5 or whatever. So KSI has been proven to do big numbers, regardless of who he's fighting. And it's like I think Jake did that. I think that event did so well because Ben Askren was like a part of it in the MMA community and with like the Logan fights, they were just YouTubers and it wasn't like the MMA community or the athletic community was coming to get it. And I just think that's something people shouldn't forget.
No, but here's the thing though. There's more to it than just sales. It's also about relevancy, and I'm not talking about YouTube, Twitter followers, we're talking about like real A side, like Gervonta Davis versus Teofimo A side. We're talking about the real definition, right?
Yeah.
You have bigger fight names talking about Jake more than KSI, even if it's because of relevancy, because of how recent his fight was. But still, you have people like Daniel Cormier, Dana White, Antonio Tarver, Buster Douglas. I said Buster Douglas. George Foreman, all legends. Evander Holyfield,
Mike Tyson.
Evander Holyfield's son, Andy Reeves, Luis Ortiz, the guy who fought Deontay Wilder. All these huge names. I can go on and on. David Haney. Gervonta Davis wanted to knock out Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith, the guy on ES News. Like, all these people are talking about Jake, and they're doing it with a passion of hate. They're not supporting him. Well, at least most of them are.
Yeah.
But it's still relevancy nonetheless. Once, you know what they say, bad publicity is still good publicity. So even in the fight world, Jake is the bigger name.
Yeah. Well, that's because he's active right now, and KSI is inactive. But like if KSI was active, I think that the same big people would be talking about him. And if they see him as like, if he goes and fights, like, I'm making this up, if he fought like, I don't know, John Cena, and he knocked him out in the first round, he would get the same kind of publicity. And then let's say hypothetically he fought Tommy Fury, which I don't know why he would do, but let's say hypothetically he fought him, and even if he lost, he like was able to go a hard 5 rounds with him, and whatnot. They would probably see him as the savior and the only like viable solution to beating Jake. And I think that could be a good narrative that he could use. But I think once KSI starts going in the ring and like gets a viral knockout or even just wins, I think he'll kind of level back up with Jake.
Yeah. I respectfully disagree. Not skill wise. I still think Jake can. I mean, KSI can change the narrative, but only to the hardcore fans. I feel like to the casuals, like they're not gonna like. What's the word?
Care.
Yeah, no, not care. With casuals, it's all about first impressions. You know what I mean? With casuals, it's like one fight determines your entire career.
Are you talking about KSI versus Jake or just KSI?
Oh well.
Wait, so you're talking about like KSI versus Jake, or like when KSI fights next?
I'm talking about when KSI fights next. Oh. Like when he's going into his next fight, they got all this promo material, all the technical sparring, all of him doing this good footwork and yada yada.
Yeah.
You're just gonna have the casuals in the comment, lol, isn't this the walking windmill guy?
Yeah. I don't think KSI has to worry about it because I think he's guaranteed at least 1 million pay-per-view buys. And that's like his lowest amount he could get, and he probably won't get just 1 million. Like if he could do that with Logan, I think he can do that. Like if he fought John Cena, for example, everyone would be like, "Oh my god, John Cena's fighting!" Like you, all of your friends, my friends, would be like, "John Cena's fighting this KSI guy," and then if KSI knocks him out like Jake knocked out Nate, boom, it sets him onto the path of success. But we'll see what happens. But I think that I think he'll be able to whenever he fights next. I think he'll do at least 1 million pay-per-view buys. Because I think
as much as I would love to see that fight, I don't think John Cena has credibility for KSI. Well, I mean, number wise, he would surpass Jake.
Yeah,
if that fight happened, he would surpass the 1.3. But credibility wise, I don't see how that can like help the narrative.
Yeah, well, I think that it's more for me. It's more of like I think would be a business move of like how do you make the biggest pay-per-view event possible, and while this like I mean Nate Robinson wasn't a challenge for Jake, but Jake did that because he knew he would attract the athletic community, and a lot of the mainstream media would focus on his fight with Nate. So I think if anything, I think it would just be a warm-up fight for JJ, and then he could for his next fight actually fight someone like that's like would give him like some skill for skill or whatever. But you know what? I regardless of what he does, I think he's always gone for the more like harder opponents. So I'm not worried about him like just having like 3 easy fights. And again, it's more about just like let's get him in the ring, let's get him used to it, let's ring off the ring rust, and let's just like get him prepped for Jake.
Yeah. John Cena's a tough dude. Finished the match with a broken nose. He's a high profile. It would be interesting to see him actually get. Yeah, no. Don't get me wrong. The man is like built of stone. Like he's shredded, athletic. endurance. Plus, his average audience is already used to pay-per-views,
Yeah.
so they would buy.
I
But
want to see that fight happen.
boxing-wise, I don't think he has any accolades.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. I can guarantee you, though, he's better than Ben Askren and Nate Robinson. Well, actually, everyone's better than Ben Askren. So, what was I gonna say? Oh, so, I know we talked about KSI a lot, but I just wanted to bring this up. I remember me and you were talking in the DMs about comparing JJ, KSI, and Jake, and for so long. And this is because, again, as I go through learning about boxing, I pick up on things, I change my opinions and whatnot.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is people, I think, kind of dumb it down and be like, KSI fights like Nate Robinson, KSI fights like Gibb. And on a surface level, yes, that would make sense. But here's the thing. With KSI, when he was throwing those wild hooks, people were like, he just was throwing his hands and hoped that one landed. With him, he had an objective with what those punches were trying to do, and he had power behind those. With Nate and with Gibb, and especially with Ben Askren, they didn't like they just like threw their hands and were just hoping that something landed. There was no like objective or whatever. Whenever KSI threw wild, you'll notice that whenever he throws wild, it's always the overhand rights. It's always when he's going for the head. When he does body shots and he's breaking Logan down, he's very technical. But when he goes for the head, he gets wild. And again, I think that's because and the Wade concept said this too. He overextends his jab, right? I'm correct in that.
Yeah, that's what I told you about how the elbow thing really scary.
Yeah, but here's the thing: like there was some moments. We watched both fights today. There was some moments when he doesn't overextend, and I'm like, why don't you just do that? And I don't. I think that's because he likes to headhunt and he likes to go for the money shot. And that's his biggest flaw with going into with Jake is if he and even did this with Face Sensei, like, well, one, he doesn't always come out with like a jab, and he doesn't always come out like without. He kind of just will come out and with pressure, and that can be really detrimental when he fights Jake. But mainly, he will always go for the head, and he won't break someone down. Take his time and be patient. And I don't think he gets nervous. Like people were saying, oh, he got nervous and the adrenaline got to him. I don't think he got nervous. He was, if you watch the locker room footage, he was the least from nervous like out of anyone in the YouTube scene. But I think the problem is that he gets overexcited with like his shots, and he doesn't always like think about like, okay, maybe I should not do this. And kind of will let, and he'll get lost in the battle. And with Jake has proven that even though his opponents were terrible, you know, he doesn't get lost. He'll go stick with what he knows, and he won't go for the money shot. Like with Deadly, he broke Deadly down round by round. He went for the body. He varied stuff up. JJ never really did that in the Logan fights. In the Joe fight, he was really good, but even then, he would do kind of single jabs to the body and then to the head, and he wouldn't kind of vary it up. So I think that's his biggest flaw. I don't think people shouldn't be worried about him getting being a haymaker-y. It's about going for that money shot and going head hunting. That's what's going to get him killed. It's because of how taller Logan was that it looked more like wild, and it was an over exaggerated version of himself. And I know what I'm about to say may sound like a casual thing to say, and if you want to hate on me for saying this, it's fine. But Logan has very long arms, and there were moments when I'm like, if you didn't have those long arms like reaching out or protecting you, you would have gotten hit. Because there was one moment in the first fight where he has his hands raised up, and KSI just whams his fist into one of his arms, and it goes down, and then the second arm goes down, and then he gets to the shot. And it's like with Jake's not going to have the long arms. He's not going to have these things to protect him. And I think the long arms, I think, were a huge factor into why KSI couldn't get inside as good as I think he wanted to. But again, I was rambling for a little bit, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Jake doesn't have. Logan doesn't have the reach. The thing is, though, I don't think headhunting is KSI's greatest. I mean, it's a flaw, but to me, his greatest weakness is his disobedience. And I say this respectfully because I'm a KSI fan. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, but I don't like his disobedience towards the coaches. Like if the coaches, the face sensei spar, they said follow up with the jab, follow like no, KSI just walked in and tried to knock this dude out. Like when the coach has a certain plan for KSI's like, you know what? I'm gonna try my own thing and see if that works. And not that it didn't work, but it's not something you would want to do. Like you don't want to listen against your coach. You don't want to like do something against your coach does.
Yeah.
And
So you can continue.
it wouldn't be a problem if he had experience. I mean, hell, Muhammad Ali created the rope-a-dope, not listening to his coach. But obviously, the people who don't listen to their coach have the experience to survive without them. With KSI, you are relying, not even with KSI, with all these YouTubers, you have to rely on your coach. Your coach is your what's the word when you have like a broken leg, your crouch.
I don't know.
But your coach is the thing you stand on. Without your coach, you are falling.
Yeah.
And the fact that KSI doesn't listen too much to his coach kind of worries me. That's why I'm hoping this new coach that he has is going to teach him discipline, like show tougher love than Vidal did, and just really get him strict because KSI needs discipline. Because I think Jake, he's a jackass, but I think he can listen. I think he knows how to your coach is your anchor. Yeah, your coach is your anchor. Yeah. Without your coach, you were just sailing like nonsense. All right, continue.
I would say that people I think here's how I think I want people to maybe think about it. It's like with the realist and his fans, he's like he doesn't listen to his coach because his ego is too big, and I'm like, no, that's not it. It's not that he's not listening to them because he's like, no, I'm KSI and I know everything. I just think he genuinely. I think if I were KSI, I probably would have done. Like, I'm someone that learns very slowly, and like has a hard time like with like simple tasks sometimes, and like in boxing, like I think JJ, it takes him a longer time to like do what he's asked. Like I think his learning ability is a lot slower, and I think that he almost like can't get out of that bad habit, and so he stays with that. But when he does what his coaches tell him to do, he's golden. He wins. He does amazing. And I do think supposedly his new coach is Shane McGugan, who trained Luke Campbell, right?
Yeah,
I trained Luke Campbell. And they actually did do a video together back in 2018. And I think that for JJ and his coaches, it's less about saying, listen, JJ, you got to be more respectful. You got to listen and be like, okay, how do we make it so that you don't go back to those bad habits? How do we make it so that you understand that at a quicker pace? And that is something that can be fixed and adjusted. And I feel like people were like, oh, Vidal said that KSI's whole fighting style has to change. And it's like, no, that's not what he said. He's like, if KSI swings wild against Jake, he's going to lose, which is true. But he wouldn't do that in the first place. And secondly, with Jake, why would he be scrappy? Like, there's so many factors into why he fought Logan the way he did. And it's been video proves that JJ knows how to box without just throwing his arms all over the place. Doesn't mean he's good, but it just proves that he can box without just throwing his hands wildly. And I think what people have to understand is there are very key things that KSI is flawed in that affect him greatly, but there was plenty of enough time and care that could fix those. If his whole fighting style had to be changed, it's a different story. But that's not the reality of the situation, in my opinion.
Yeah. KSI lacking discipline is not a bad thing. Like that's what the point of most kids learning boxing is, to learn discipline in the first place.
Yeah.
Is it a flaw? Yes, but it's not inhuman. Everybody has a lack of discipline at some point in their life. That's why boxing or any sport is there, is to teach discipline.
Yeah.
And Alex said, yeah, but JJ got mad. Logan, his emotions got to him. Yeah, discipline helps with that. Discipline, like, subdues your emotions to actions kind of thing. And that's another thing we have to talk about. Like, there's layers to sweet science. However, the thing about the layers is that there's not a time limit or a speed thing. Like, it all depends on your learning growth and your learning speed, which KSI, I think he learned boxing in a decent rate, but Jake Paul's learning growth speed is pretty fast by comparison.
I think it's because
Which is
he's
why
like naturally better at
sorry.
it. Sorry, he's naturally
Yeah.
better at it than JJ. I think he just learns more quicker than he does, so he's able to like accelerate in a more faster light than KSI can.
Yeah, it's like just has a knack for it. What can you say? Like he just I'm not calling him a protege. God forbid it. I'm just saying that he's fast by comparison.
Yeah, and I think that like here's the thing: if kind of pivoting into Jake Paul versus Ben Askren, was the fight rigged? I don't think so. Do you think it was?
At first, I wanted to think it was rigged.
Yeah.
Not because I hate on Jake Paul, but I refused to believe that Robbie Lawler hits less harder than Jake Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I just refused to believe that for such a while.
Yeah.
And I still don't think that. I just think man got caught. Like a ground and pound isn't as hard as a straight shot, especially if you don't see the hook coming. I mean, the cross coming.
Yeah.
Jake has an advantage already, especially with his sparring partner, so it's going to be a very dangerous fight even down the road. Yeah, Alex, I agree, man. KSI, at this point, it's an uphill battle.
Yeah, well,
it's an uphill battle.
I think so. You know what? I understand. You know what? I used to argue with people, but I'm like, listen, I understand why you think that JJ is gonna not lose. Is gonna lose to him. Like, I understand why you think that. It's fine. I won't argue with you. I'll just show you another perspective. My whole thing with it is we haven't seen him boxing proper since 2019, so we don't actually know is he the same boxer or is he better? Like, and if what True Jordy said is what is happening consistently, which is he's training with top elite level pros and he's sparring with top elite level pros and he's having a lot of in-house fights and he's been doing that for like the time that he's been off. I don't really want to hypothetically assume that JJ won't be at the level that he has because again we just haven't seen anything. And even me saying that though, people were like, well, you don't know. And it's like, I don't know. It's like the only way this whole debate will get settled is if he fights again, which is why I want him to fight again, hopefully this year, but I don't know if that will happen.
Yeah. What's up? What's another thing we're gonna talk about? I swear there was something I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah. Freaking the TikTok YouTube weird thing. A lot of sparring and drama went down since we last talked about that. We obviously talked about it in the messages, but not publicly, I think. You know, with the Bryce Hall Storm, what's his name? Stromade. So it's been a while since like we obviously talked about it, like we touched on it, but we haven't like fully talked about it. Did your opinions have any change, or do you still think Bryce Hall's like scared or nervous and Austin's taking the win?
Yeah, I just from the sparring I've seen from Bryce, like I just don't see any way that he's gonna win. Well, listen, like he could win. I mean, I think they're both gonna be not great, but I just think that Bryce Hall's just like I just don't think he's it. I just don't believe. When I look at him, I'm like, you're trying so hard to beat Jake Paul, and you're just not. And I just think that at least boxing skills wise, he's nowhere near that level. And I think he's gonna lose, and he's never gonna box again. And I think Austin's will win, maybe on points. I don't know. But yeah, man, I think Austin McBoom's gonna win.
Yeah. Was it Emily?
Huh?
Honestly, sorry, my sister just came in. Honestly, I see Austin taking the win, and the way Bryce spars kind of cringes me. Like, I don't know, he just fights like your average drunken Joe.
Yeah, like at least and so that's I agree with that.
All right, give me a second. I'm just gonna close my door. I'll be right back. Hold on. All right. I'm back.
And so
Honestly,
what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, so we all thought that Bryce Hall was just doing an act, trying to act up. I changed my opinion on that. I think Bryce Hall, he sucks at fighting, and I don't think he's trying to act like Jake. I just think he's trying to act tough in general. But he's always been compared to Jake, even before the tough boxing guy act.
Hmm.
I just think he's mentally strong. I don't think he's like physically capable of defending himself, but I I think Jake Paul, Bryce Hall is not scared. I think I think I I think I think Austin and Broom Loki has a little bit of shyness. I think he can be a little nervous at times because I can't find a lot of boxing footage on him. But the only thing I did find was him acting nervous. The only thing I did find him was him being nervous of seeing Taylor Holder spar, which kind of made me nervous. Seeing his face after seeing Taylor Holder spar kind of made me think, oh, he's nervous that he's gonna get in a ring with him. Therefore, he's nervous that he's gonna fight someone who knows how to fight. I think Austin's gonna win, but I think he's more nervous than Bryce Hall is, and that's just my opinion on everything.
Yeah. So I want to go back to Jake versus Ben though, because I just remembered. Um, so I didn't think the fight was rigged, but I think that a lot of people are like I made a video on this the other day, the genius of Jake Paul, which I'm sure a lot of you guys were like, "What? My Andre Jake's a genius," and he is. He's the genius of box. He's a genius when it comes to boxing, and he's a genius of being the biggest fraud in boxing. I say this all the time. He's boxing's biggest genius, and he's boxing's biggest fraud. Because if you think about it, like, listen, why do you think he picked Nate Robinson? Okay, because he knew he could beat him. But the whole thing with Jake is he wants to make I have to say this is genius, and he is a master manipulator and deceiver of people. Like he genuinely made lots of people think that Nate and Ben were gonna win. Like he made a lot of people think that because he thought, the mainstream media, they don't take me seriously, they don't watch my fights, they don't know anything about me. And all of the casuals and all the people, they're just gonna be like, whoa, he just knocked out an athlete. And so he thought, listen, Nate Robinson, he brings in the numbers, he brings in this community, I can easily beat him, but I'm gonna hype him up and bring up all of his accolades so that everyone believes in him and everyone doubts me. So that when I win, everyone's like, whoa, oh my God, this guy just won. Wow, he's a boxer. He's a tough guy. He just knocked someone out brutally. When do we see KOs like that? But what people don't get about
yeah, that's kind of true. That's kind of true.
But what people don't get about the reason why he wants to do this is because he wants to think that he wants you guys to believe that he's taken on challenging people and people that are a step up from YouTube, when in reality, yes, Nate Robinson is an athlete, but what are his boxing skills akin to? What are his boxing skills similar to a YouTuber? So Ben Askren, Nate Robinson, great athlete, but who boxes like a YouTuber. So and it's true. Look at Nate Robinson's boxing skills compared to undercard YouTube fights. It literally is the same thing. So when you look at it like that, he fought another YouTuber that just happened to be extremely buff and tough and had a bunch of basketball trophies. And again, with Jake, he was like, I was the most betted fight against on that night or whatever. And the reason why he says that stuff is because he wants people to believe that he actually beat somebody that was a challenge, that was really worthy of his time. And because with KSI, like, people doubt him because they just think he's terrible and they just think he won't be able to compete with his opponents. With Jake, he's like, if people look at it like the way that most people would, which is based in reality, they would see that this isn't much of an accomplishment and Jake is going to easily beat this dude, so it's not much to celebrate about. But he's like, I can't have that happen. So he allows people to he makes people doubt him. He makes people doubt him as a fighter and makes them believe in Nate Robinson so that when he wins, everyone's like, whoa. And he's able to say, boom, look at what I did without actually having a challenge. And so, in that sense, he's cheating his way to the top, taking the shortcuts. It's like cheating on a test. Like, yes, you knew some of the test, but you had a little note card that helped you, that got you to the edge. And the same thing applies with Ben Askren. Why do you think in his Instagram post he said he listed all of Ben Askren's accolades and all of his accolades? Because he wanted the public to think about this fight a certain way, and that's there's no way that this YouTuber beats this elite level fighter. And see, this is a fighter, but here's the thing. Like I say, I think that Ben Askren is a fighter in name only. He's not. He doesn't have any boxing skills. He's got no power. He's one of the worst fighters in history. But what is he amazing at? Wrestling. And what does he have a Dodge Hodge Award in? And what did he get an Olympian medal in? Wrestling. That's his biggest strength. So if you take that away from him, what are you left with? But a mediocre, moderately okay fighter who, if you take away all his accolades and you compare him to YouTubers, fights and boxes, and has a skill level and boxing IQ level of a YouTuber. And so, and again, what I'm saying is kind of controversial, but I'm just going to say my opinion, and then I'll let you comment in. I think that Ben Askren is comparable to a YouTuber. And so once again, Jake fought another YouTuber. He fought someone that was a fighter in name only. Like, if you are a fighter, that's not how fighters perform. And again, with Ben Askren, like I said in the fight, and no one believed me. Ben Askren, you know what? I don't think Ben Askren has an iron chin. I don't think he can take shots well. The only reason why is because he'd get hit with a couple combinations, and then boom, he would go for the takedown, and he'd just wrestle them, and he would recover, and he would basically will his opponent to demise. And if you take that away, his ground game isn't enough to support him. Like, if him and Robbie Lawyer were in a boxing fight and he couldn't do a takedown or wrestle, he would have lost that fight probably the same way he lost against Jake. And the thing is like, Jake understood that, hey, I'm taking away his biggest strength, and the only reason why I pick him is because he's got this iron chin. And what people don't understanding is, like, Ben Askren is not a good fighter. Him beating Ben Askren isn't an accomplishment. It's not like he challenged himself, but because he's hyping up his opponent and saying all of these things and allowing the public to perceive it in the way of, well, Ben Askren's been in there with killers and he's been in there with this and that, but they're not looking at the reality of the situation, which is there's a reason why Ben Askren was able to survive those killers, and that's because of takedowns, because of wrestling. What is he good at? Wrestling. He's not good at boxing. And when he fought Jake, he was doing MMA tactics in boxing, and that's what I'm saying. You can't do MMA boxing in regular boxing. Prime example, Ben Askren versus Jake. And you can't do boxing and MMA. Prime example, McGregor versus Dustin 2. That's why McGregor lost, because his stance allowed him to get hit with shots in the leg. So that's been proven that you can't do that. And when he got hit with that shot, Ben Askren had never been hit with a shot like that before. And but what I mean by that is, it wasn't like Jake hit him with the most powerful shot he'd ever been hurt with. It wasn't like he was seriously hurt. It's like, if you look at Ben Askren's fight, when has anyone ever done that to him in a fight? Never. Because that's not your objective in... Oh, well, I guess Angel... Oh, sorry. That's
I was here the entire time.
What? Oh, yeah, I know you just left. So, what I was saying was that in the fight, Ben Askren had never been hit with a shot like that before, so he didn't know, like, how to deal with that. And the thing is that shot, regardless of how hurt you are, it hit him in the core place that's your balance. And when your balance is gone, you're pretty much screwed in boxing. Prime example, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua. So, and Ben Askren had been trained to deal with that, or have to experience with that. And when he had that interview with Ariel Winter, or whatever his last name was, he said, normally that tactic I was using works, because then after Jake would have thrown the right hand, if this was MMA, I just go in for the takedown. And this proved my point, in that Ben Askren didn't really have a game plan. He was just going back to natural instinct, and he was doing what he knew how to do. But what he knew how to do was not good enough, certainly for a boxing fight or for MMA. But also, doing MMA style tactics just does not work in boxing. It doesn't translate well. No one's been able to strike that balance. And yeah, I just and when compared to, like, let's forget about KSI. Compared to the larger boxing community, talking about McGregor, Mayweather, does this mean anything in that grand scheme? No, it doesn't. Him fighting Gib, Nate, and Ben, that doesn't mean that he can beat any of these guys, that he can compete at a high level, that he's a tough guy. I don't think Jake Paul's a fighter. He hasn't proven he's a fighter. KSI isn't a fight. KSI to me isn't a fighter. Logan Paul to me isn't a fighter. To me, Logan Paul and KSI, they have proven themselves to be warriors. Jake Paul has proven to be someone that can knock out people that are old and retired and don't know how to box, and he knows how to do the fundamentals. And he hasn't proven that he is a fighter. When he fights somebody that gives him a challenge and is an actual pro boxer who knows what they're doing, and he beats them, that's when he's a real fighter. But he's gotten that title and that validity and verification because he beat Ben Askren. But what people don't understand is, like, this guy was only a fighter in name only, and all he cares about is validity, verification. Me talking about him right now, us having this podcast, is we are making his plan work. We are doing exactly what he wants us to do, which is talking about him and keeping him relevant. If we stop talking about him, we always backed him, his strategy doesn't work. So I hope that all made sense. And then, Angel, you can kind of weigh in on this. I know I've been rambling for like over 10 minutes, but that's my piece, and I kind of explained that in the video I did like yesterday.
I practically agree with everything. I mean, except obviously Ben's chin. Like, I don't agree with the fact that you said that he never had a chin. I don't think that's true.
Yeah, well, like,
I think
he got hit with like a couple of shots, and then like with Robbie Lawyer, and then he just boom, he like pinned him, and he was fine.
No. Yeah, but it's not even just Robbie Lawyer. Like, his entire career, he's been getting punched in the face. Yes, he recovered, but how come he never got dropped by one? Like,
because in MMA, like, you're not like the momentum and the power that Jake was coming at Ben with isn't anything that an MMA fighter ever did to Ben, and that's not because Jake is better than any of those guys. It's just like, that's not the objective, or that's not exactly the point of what they're trying to do with Ben, in my opinion.
I don't think that's 100% accurate, because most striking in MMA is just nothing but overhands. It's mostly nothing but overhands. And the most famous strikers use nothing but overhands. Like, that's why I think it's so hard to believe, especially Douglas Lima. Like, all these people punching. And the thing with MMA is that they don't strike like boxers, right? They use their hands like slingshots in a way. Like, they're throwing their hand, and their hands like the slingshot with a rock. Like, they're using their arms as a catapult. So that's what makes it so hard for me to believe it, because Ben does have an amazing chin, in my opinion. Like, the man's ate a bunch of shots, ate a few kicks to the face, nothing but knees. And yes, did he rely on wrestling to recover? Yeah, but nothing has ever put him down. Yes, wrestling saved him from losing, but wrestling didn't save him from getting knocked out if he ate all those shots. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Oh, I think another thing I forgot is, like, Jake is like 30 pounds heavier than any of the guys Ben has fought before, and like the weight plays a crucial role in his punching power as well.
Yeah, but like, I think in Bellator he was in the 180 category. Like, he was in the one. I think in Bellator, nobody told me. So Jake Paul, yeah, he's heavy, but it plays a big factor, obviously. But I don't know, just so hard for me to wrap my head about. And even on the podcast of Impulsive, he was like, Logan was like, "Hey, Jake Paul, you hit harder than Robbie Lawler." I don't know. It's just I don't want to hear that ever again.
No, like, and the thing is like, the reason why I'm not like, because I think if people understood, like, if KSI fought Ben Askren, you would think he'd win that fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you think he'd probably knock him out, right?
That depends. Is it as fast or?
Yeah, let's say like JJ is able to knock him out in the same amount of time that Jake is, or maybe a little bit later. Like, if like I think the thing is like JJ would be able to beat Ben Askren. That's all that really matters. Is like if you put Ben Askren in with a lot of YouTubers, it would probably be an even fight, and I think a lot of them would win. Like, well, not like the ones that have
Yeah.
just started, but like the main ones, like KSI, Logan. Um, I think even Deadly would. I think maybe not knock him out, but I think he'd beat him, and that's the point. It's like Ben Askren is someone that so many people, so many YouTubers can beat, and when you think about it in that larger context, how like wow of a moment is this for Jake? It's not like it's like
Yeah, but
I like so many other people could beat this guy, and I think the whole point of this fight was no one can beat this guy but me. But it's like, but I know other people can, not just YouTubers, but like pro fighters, like in boxing, not in wrestling.
yeah, but there's also another part that I didn't agree with. Jake Paul, we talked about this when we were reacting to a lot of that. I'm like, oh, here goes Jake Paul, like sucking off his opponent and then downplaying himself.
Mm.
I feel like he was trying to manipulate the situation, but most of the casuals got, well, not casuals, just everybody got their opinion from UFC fighters because every UFC fighter said Mike I was gonna win. DC Daniel Cormier said it. Freaking Dustin Poirier said, "Yeah, man, if you don't beat him in 3 rounds, you practically suck." Who else? Luke Rockhold, yada yada. Like all these UFC fighters. Like if you have UFC professional fighters telling you who's gonna win, you're gonna take their answers into consideration. Unlike Keemstar, even though he was right, of course it would make sense to trust the UFC fighter over a guy who does drama on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the UFC played a huge part into it, which kind of gets me a little mad at the MMA community. I was like, why are you guys doing this? Like, why are you guys brainwashing? You guys know Ben Askren better than anybody. Come on.
Yeah, like there was someone who did a podcast with one of the guys, the UFC fighters, that said Ben was gonna win. And he said privately, he told me, "Yeah, I don't believe that Ben's gonna win, but I have to say that because Ben's a part of the community." Like a lot of these guys, I don't think actually believed in him. And again, they don't. Jake masterfully undersold himself and made people not really believe in him, and that's why that he was those MMA fighters who aren't casuals were able to say that in some cases believe it because they just saw Jake as someone who just beat up YouTubers and they just thought, well, there's no way that Ben beats him. But it's like that's because Jake made you think that way. In my opinion, that's my thing. And you know what? I have to give credibility to that because if you can manipulate people and deceive them into thinking a certain way, that's like a lot of power that you have. Like that's like crazy. Like, you know, like it's crazy.
Someone give him an Oscar.
Yeah, I know. Like, but I think that you know he's a fraud in the sense that like this guy, if you put him up against someone real, he's gonna lose like that, and his career is over. And that's why I'm saying he's one of the biggest frauds. But you know what happens to frauds and villains? They always get exposed. They always lose. And so you can say whatever you want to say, but just take comfort in knowing that one day, Jake Paul is going to lose in a boxing fight and he's going to get knocked out. And if you hold on to that thought and that belief, which will happen, we'll be able to get through all of these fights way easier than normal. Because I'm like, people like Jake don't succeed till the end. You know, I know Mayweather was the villain, but Mayweather's like a technical god, and Jake's never going to get to that level.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not praying on Jake Paul's downfall. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I can't wait till he loses. I'm just gonna sit there and be like, I'm just gonna chill. Honestly, I don't mind him winning all his fights because his ego is just gonna keep growing, and the higher the fall, the what's the saying? The higher, yeah, whatever. But I think I feel like if his ego grows more and more and more, that would make the loss more laborish. You know what I mean? Like, let him get hyped up. Let him be like, let him get his accolades, whatever. just destroy him round one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't pray for his demise, but it's like, for people that really don't like him or who can see what he's doing, it's like, I know you're gonna not be able to succeed at some point. You're gonna have to face somebody that's at your level, and you're gonna be exposed. But like with Logan,
Even
I wanted that to happen, and it did. And Logan's now an amazing person, and now I really like him. And it's like, I think Jake and Logan become better people, and everyone likes them more when they lose and they are put down a peg constantly. Um, and I used to actually think Jake was all right. Like, I used to watch his videos and think he was okay, but now I just he's really just the opposite. Like, I really dislike him, but I think he can change, and I think I can get to a place where I don't like, oh, I'm a huge fan of you, but like I'm not like I despise this guy, which is what I'm kind of the attitude I have towards him
yeah.
now. So
Personally,
yeah, what you say?
I like Jake as the villain. I like Jake as the villain. I'm not saying I like him, but I like how we have someone like they made YouTube boxing like such black and white. Like we know who's the good guy, we know who's the bad guy, and I like that. It's simplified. We don't have it's all about motives and no, it's from the get go. It's been written in stone. Jake's the bad guy. And sometimes I don't blame people. Sometimes it's quarter for the bad guy.
Yeah. So I have to go get my computer charger, but I want you to talk to the live stream people about who do you most want Jake Paul to fight, and then say if you think he can win or not. And I'll be right back.
Yes, sir. Alex Gonzalez, bro, what's up? Even Joe Rogan and GSP have talked about it. Jake actually has the power because he goes down, he can be legit strikers in MMA. That's a lot easier said than done. Not gonna lie, a lot easier said than done. Yes, Jake. A lot that quote can really be applied to a lot of people. Oh, they have the knockout power, but the skill. Like that quote can really be applied to a lot of people, not just Jake. But if it makes people have more faith in Drake, go at it. Go ahead. It's still a compliment. The idea of saying you have power to knock out MMA guys, whether it's true or not, someone saying that to you must be a compliment.
So who do you want? You want him to fight Tommy Fury the most, right?
Tommy Fury, yes, I do.
And you obviously would believe that Tommy would win against Jake, right?
I think it's closer than most people think.
But
I don't
at
think
the
it's gonna
end
be
of
a
the day,
one-sided
do you
beatdown.
think
To
he's
be
gonna
honest.
win?
But what happened?
But at the end of the day, do you think Tommy would win? Take the win?
I don't know. I really don't. The thing is, Tommy has more loose hooks than Jake does, which is surprising. And Tommy, I don't think he's ever been gone in deep water. He's kind of similar to Jake. Like, just fight random ass people who have no experience. Like, it says something about your boxing career if Jake Paul is the one who has more wins than all of your opponents combined.
Well,
It really is like if Tommy Fury wins, it will be a close fight. Jake won't lose much hype if he does.
I think that I think that with like Tommy Fury's opponents, as much as these guys like had terrible records, I think it can be argued that they boxed better than Ben Askren or Nate Robinson. Like at least they were like moving around, had head movement and all of this stuff. Like what?
Oh, you would think so. Trust me, I thought the exact same. I checked out. Two of them are better than Ben Askren. The three of them are Nate Robinson levels.
And yeah, but I mean, at least they're like I know, even though you're a pro boxer, you can still be terrible. But at least he's fought boxers, people that have. I mean, all of them. I mean, there's only like two guys I think that actually won anything. But I feel like with Tommy though, like he's being trained by Tyson Fury's dad. He's working with Tyson Fury and in his camp, and I just think that level of like that you're getting, like I think that will make anyone like good. So I think that with like Tommy, if Tommy and Jake fought, I think that Tommy would win, but I don't think he would be like knocking him out. Um, I don't think he'd be knocking Jake out in like one round. Like I don't think it'd be like a like boom, Jake's gone. Like I think it would be a heavy 5 round fight where I think maybe Tommy would get knocked down, Jake would get knocked down. But you know what? I understand why people would say it's close because again, both of these guys have fought really bad people. And I think that a lot of stuff that they're doing that are working and the stuff that they're able to get away with when they go and fight each other, they won't be able to like do that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I think personally Tommy would win. I think he would get the W. I think but again, Jake's not gonna fight Tommy anytime soon, so I'm not even gonna like think of the idea because like that's not gonna happen. But I think that that would be Jake's toughest test, right?
By far.
I think it would both be their toughest tests, and I think we really see like what is Jake made of, what is Tommy made of, and like if Tommy hits Jake with like a big combination, and Jake like throws a shot that would normally not like his opponent wouldn't like would not let him get away with. And like Tommy would capitalize on that, and like what would Jake do then? Like there's a lot of unanswered questions, and I think that's the fight everyone wants to see, but I don't think that would happen. Do you think if KSI fought Tommy, well, because Tommy wanted to fight KSI back in 2019, but do you think if KSI and Tommy fought, would you think Tommy would just destroy KSI?
No, I wouldn't think Tommy would just destroy KSI. I think Tommy Fury is. I think Tommy is being carried by his last name.
Do you think
he's
kind of at this? He's a little bit above the YouTube standard of boxing skill level.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I'm not gonna roast him.
I think he's like,
but it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to say now because the YouTube boxing level, the ceiling's increasing. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of hard to say where the level's at now. I think Tommy can beat KSI and Kid. It all depends about what kind of Tommy Fury shows up. Is he there for the easy payday? Does he actually treat KSI as a threat? Like, is he hungry for this? Like, it all depends on that kind of factors. But if it's just like average Tommy Fury who's there to win, then I think he beats KSI only because Tommy Fury has more head movement than Jake and Logan.
Yeah.
I could see KSI beating Tommy Fury. I think that's possible.
You think KSI could beat Tommy?
It's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, I think KSI, Logan, and Jake all could hold their own and potentially win. I think most people would believe Jake has the best chance out of beating them, and that makes sense that people would think that. But yeah. I would love it if KSI fought Tommy first because because then he would be able to say, hey, I beat a pro boxer, I beat a Fury. And even if he lost, it would still be an amazing experience. You fought a pro boxer that, obviously is, not fought a lot of good people, but you still fought an actual pro boxer by definition, whereas Jake never has only just gone to the MMA guys. So, but I think, you know what, it would be risky for KSI to fight Tommy Fury after 2 years of inactivity. But you know what? I think he would gain a lot of respect and a lot of credibility from the sporting world and from me. So it's not that I wouldn't do that.
What if it was a round one knockout?
For that, the KSI knocked out Tommy in one round?
Okay. It's like let's say not just Tommy Fury. Let's say KSI goes for the deep end. Like, I'm taking all risks. That's how KSI's character is. Like, I'm just gonna use Tommy Fury because I can't think of anybody else at the moment. Let's say he fights Tommy Fury, and it was like, Jake Paul, take notes. KSI's not scared. You wussy or whatever.
Yeah.
And all that respect is there, right?
Yeah.
But if if KSI gets knocked out in one round, would that respect still be there that he took the fight, or would that just go away and it just be embarrassment?
I find that hard to believe that KSI would get knocked down by Tommy in one round. But if that did hypothetically happen, Jake probably wouldn't want to fight him, and he'd have to probably fight more people. But I wouldn't want that to happen. I would hate that. Would be that's my worst nightmare. My worst nightmare.
Yeah.
But I think that would be really good for KSI as a boxer because he would finally taste an embarrassing defeat, and he would be so motivated to win and beat Jake that at that point I'd be like, you're gonna beat you will beat Jake. Like if because like you saw how motivated he was to beat Logan after he had a draw with him. It's like imagine if he lost. Like I think that'd be great for him, and then I feel like I'd feel way more confident in him beating Jake than if he just beat Tommy. You know, because I mean, if he lost to Jake, he'd be like, "Well, I still beat Tommy Fury." Whereas where it's like, oh, like I got knocked out by Tommy Fury in one round, but then I came back and I beat Jake Paul. So I think it would be a positive for him, but like it definitely wouldn't be a positive for him at first. But I think that it would work in his favor in a lot of ways and against him.
I think I think his greatest motivation is his Reddit. Because if he loses, bro, oh my god, his Reddit would go off.
Yeah, they'll be nice to him, and then they'll kind of tear him to shreds. But I mean, imagine if like KSI and Jake don't fight until they're like 50 years old, and I hope that doesn't happen.
I'm gonna get so pissed if it's an exhibition.
Yeah, I probably won't be. Shane McGugan is supposedly his new trainer, and you said that that was a good pick for KSI, and I think that's a good pick for him too because they seem to kind of take it off very well. But what do you think Shane will like? What do you think Shane will do with JJ?
I think Shane. I feel like he's gonna teach him how to swim. With Vidal, not saying it's a bad thing, but with Vidal, he fed KSI right to the sharks. Like he fed him with pros and sparring. With Shane, I feel like because he has coaching experience, he'll have more patience.
Yeah.
Which is why I feel like, okay, we know where you're at. Let's take baby steps. Baby steps turns into running. Running turns into freaking flying. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he has coaching experience. So I feel like he'd have more patience than Vidal. Because Vidal, he's a really likable guy. I really like him. But boy, is he a different person when you piss him off.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's why I just see Shane taking a better approach than Vidal. I mean, anybody is literally a better pick than Vidal because Vidal doesn't have any coaching experience. Not calling him a bad boxer, but good boxer doesn't translate over to good coach, as we saw from.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad coach per se. I just think that he, with Jake, he got Shane Mosley, and he came a long way. And I think that experience and having a seasoned veteran as you coach really takes you to that next level.
Yeah. I feel like having a veteran coach, like not even a veteran boxer, just a veteran coach,
yeah,
takes you into a higher level.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm saying like KSI is not a dumb person. Like everyone's like, he's not training and he's not. And I'm like, yes, he is. Like he's got people around him that will like literally said you're gonna lose against Logan, you're gonna lose against Joe. Like he has the most least yes men out of any YouTuber. He has the most real, down to earth. Will tell it to him straight people out of anyone, and that's why I don't get nervous really, or I don't like think that him losing is like 100% certainty because he knows what to do and the right steps to take in order to get what the result he wants as much as possible. Doesn't mean he'll succeed, but majority of the time he has.
Yeah, I want to just touch back a little bit on the Tommy Fury.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tommy's obviously in the Fury camp, so he has a lot of exposure to learning. But sparring partner wise, I think Jake Paul has the edge.
Well, we don't. Do we
Like,
really even know who Tommy's sparring?
no, that's the thing.
Oh,
Like, that's why I doubt it's anybody big, because if it's a big person, you have a picture together, post it, yada yada, call it good day. With Jake, because he has the bigger name, not saying he deserves it. He does not deserve these sparring partners. He should have worked for this. But because he has the bigger name, he's sparring people like Mike Perry, Jalen Love, the IBF champion, freaking Tommy ain't sparring John Pascal though.
yeah.
That's true. That's
I
true.
know you like Keon Love. I don't like him. And Ben Askren said in an interview how when he was getting hands what's wrapped, he said there was one
Yeah.
person in Jake's team that was being very rude and disgusting to him and was being very disrespectful. And I was like, I bet it's Keon Love. Boom, there's a video. Someone did a TikTok video of behind the scenes, and Keon Love was the one talking trash. And I know you like him or you think you respect him. I think he's AJ Flores than Jake.
Yeah. Um, I don't want to talk too much about Jalen Love. I just have too much respect for him. Like,
I don't care
I
about
used
him.
to see him. I used to see him on ESPN News. Like, when David Benavides defeated him, everyone gave props to Love because he's a taller, has a bigger reach. And yeah, like, I just think Jalen is really, really good, and he had a good career. My coach made me look at some of his footage when, honestly, not like study him, like don't make the same mistakes kind of footage. Like it's like when a teacher picks your test or your assignment and he gives you the example. This is what not to do,
Yeah.
right? It was like that. That's what we did for Jalen Love. We watched his footage against freaking Benavides. So I have respect for Jalen Love. He doesn't know it, but he gave me tips in boxing. I followed some of his footsteps. I saw his interviews. This was before the Jake Paul thing, by the way.
Yeah.
Way before. Yeah, like, I think he's not a good person. Sure, I don't know that much about him, but boxer wise, I can't show him but respect.
Yeah, I don't know. I just he annoys me. And again, I don't know a lot about him pre Jake Paul, but I'm just looking
Yeah.
at him like right now, and right now I'm like, dude, just how much is he paying you? Like really, like how much money is this man paying you just to just hype him up? Because like everyone that's around Jake, he pays them. So it's not like they're not getting paid to be with him.
Yeah. One of my favorite fights of Jalen Love before everything went south in his career
Yeah.
was him versus, what's his name? I think Johnson? Was his name Johnson? Let me search that up. Love versus, yeah, Johnson. This was another tape that we studied back at the gym, and yeah, I don't know. With him, he brings a lot of nostalgia. The people who I study were him and Madonna,
Mm-hmm.
as well as Canelo, because my gym's crazy about him a bit. And it low key, I'm not trying to sound like a baby. I'm not a softie, but it low key hurts seeing him how he turns to be. Now he's rolling with Jake Paul. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think BJ Flores is like. I think he's like a yes man, but I think he still is teaching Jake and like he's not like but I feel like he wouldn't like when Vidal hit KSI when he got like disrespected, like I don't think BJ Flores would ever do that. And I feel like, he wouldn't be like genuinely real with Jake. He'd be like, okay, Jake, like well maybe your footwork isn't okay, Jake, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you mad. Let's just go back to the pads.
I doubt it, but it could happen.
Is there anything else you
But
want to talk about, or is you still? Oh, we can continue.
No, I think we covered everything I low-key thought we were gonna cover, and now I'm just low-key doubting my my role model choice. Well, not role model choices. My my tape choices. I'm not gonna change my mind about Jalen Love. Like I have respect for him or not, but low key hurts, man. Low key hurts.
Yeah, yeah. So I think we pretty much covered all of the topics. We actually had at least 4 people watching, and we have 4
Yeah.
likes. So for like a late night podcast session, we did pretty well. So if there's nothing else, anyone, if you want to say, I think I'll end the live stream. Is that cool with you? Or
Funny comment, Alex. BJ beat up Jake the first 2 times they sparred.
he didn't
Yeah,
beat
first
he
impression.
didn't beat him up, guys. Okay, they listen. BJ Flores, he got called down there. He sparred with him when Shane wasn't there. He went okay with them. Like he didn't beat him up, guys. Like come on, really, don't let's not go there. But BJ Flores didn't beat up Jake Paul. He would never do that to him in a million years. You get money off his paycheck.
Knowing Jake Paul though, but like knowing Jake Paul, I mean, well, wait, that's different because BJ Flores sparred him before he actually even knew him, let alone work for him. But knowing Jake Paul, knowing how he spars, which is disgusting. I do not support that, but the way he's like, there is hard sparring. I've done hard sparring, but the way how he only believes there's hard sparring only, that disgusts me. But I wouldn't doubt that he would try going hard on BJ Flores, and BJ Flores is like, boy, please, and he just like whacks him. So I wouldn't doubt that BJ probably beat him up the first time they met.
Yeah. Oh wait.
I mean, actually, it would be a nice thought.
Gibb is gonna, I think, fight Taylor Holder, and there's an announcement coming Friday. I saw that you liked that. And Gibb released a new footage, a new pic of him, and he actually looks a lot better than when he fought Jake. Like he looks a lot in better shape. Gibb does.
I just hope that, so far, boxing has shown physical physique doesn't matter as much. So that's why I'm really hoping that he changed his style.
Yeah, I don't think Gibb's gonna win. Like I want him to win, but I'm like, I think that Taylor is just too good for Gibb, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, the thing that pisses me off too is the fact that with the Taylor Holder thing, like we said at the beginning of Garcia, with how realists called him too light to hit hard.
Yeah,
he said the same thing about Taylor. He's like, bro, Taylor Holder looks too skinny to hit hard. He looks too lean. And I'm like, bro, shut up. Gervonta Davis is 135 pounds.
Yeah.
Edwin Rosarino, like one of the hardest punchers of punchers of all boxing, was like, whatever. Really supposed to think he's a boxing professional now, yada yada.
Yeah.
And has never laced up the gloves and had a competitive 3-round no break spar. But oh well.
I also want to give a shout out to, I don't know if he's still watching this, but I don't know. Chicano Prophet. This is what his YouTube looks like. Oh, oops.
Oh, Chicano Prophet.
Yeah,
Chicano Prophet.
He subscribed to my channel while watching the stream, which has never happened before. So this is the first time that I have ever done a stream and I've gained a subscriber. And I don't know why people unsubscribe, because I was like at 258 and then I'm at 256 and I'm like, what? And I just want to get to 260. I've been at 250 for like since December. It's getting a little old.
Yeah.
So so is that everything you want to say, or is that good?
Yeah, that's everything I want to say. Chicano Prophet, bro, check out your channel, bro. I hope we can talk sometime if you're still watching this. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you guys for watching the stream. We've been going for about 69 seconds, 83 minutes, which is insane. But we gotta talk for as long as we want because this is a live stream, and Angel knows that editing our podcast, it's not fun. It is time consuming. It is stressful, especially if your phone has limited storage. So we just get to film these and post these, and it's fine. So I'll do highlights later on in the week, and I'm gonna be posting a lot this upcoming week, so look out for that. So make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Check out Angel's channel. The song that you made was really good. Purple Hoodie. I get that stuck in my head sometimes. I get that song stuck in my head sometimes. So I'll see you guys in the next stream. Peace. And it's over.